Alright then.
So on to our next strange fact and finding, and it's a little bit more about Gary. Now, earlier we did say that, some of this crazy shit that Gary had done, but during our intense sleuthing on the interwebs, we happened to come across a little more stuff. So we found out that since 1973, Gary had escaped multiple mental institutions, which we aren't sure if they let him outside and he just ran away, or if he went all Shawshank Redemption style and escaped the psychiatric facility through a sewer pipe, which supposedly he did, but I don't know if that's true or not.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn, Gary? Damn.
Yep, and then we also found out that on some occasions that he would walk 500 miles, which would be from his grandparents' house in Portland, Oregon, to where his parents were living in, Yuba County, California, where they were just like, oh, Gary, come back home, please, come home. So he would just say, all right, fuck it. He would walk 500 miles back home. And on his journey, he would steal milk and dog food from houses to help him sustain his long travel.
God dang, 500 miles?
That...
Good Lord.
He probably could have just asked for a ride.
I can't even walk a mile. I probably could, but...
You probably.
He has some endurance, Gary does.
Right.
All right, so let's go on to our next strange fact and finding, which is about a snowcat. Now, when I say snowcat, I don't mean the animal snowcat. I mean the vehicle, okay? So on the night of February 23rd, a Forest Service snowcat, which is a vehicle that is used to travel in the snow, well, one of those had gone up that road to the station. And since it traveled up that way, it left an area of the snow kind of like packed down from its tracks, because these service snowcats are pretty much mini tanks, kind of, they got the tracks on them and everything.
Oh, yeah.
So it packs down the snow really good. Now, the police learned about this, and it was stated that they believe the boys took this path that the service snowcat left behind, which led them to the station. So their car broke down, or they just kind of abandoned it, and then they saw this track leading in the snow that was packed down, and the boys were like, hey, let's follow this track, it'll take us somewhere, and it led them to the station. That's, what the police stated would happen. And we do have a picture of one of those service snowcats, and we'll post that for anybody wondering what they look like.
Dude, the tracks on that thing are huge. Like wide.
That's what she said.
All right, so our next strange fact and finding is about Jack's car, the 1969 Mercury Montego. So as investigators searched the car, they examined the underbelly of it and saw no physical damage to it whatsoever. They said that the driver had either used astonishing care and precision, or he knew the road well enough to anticipate every rut, which, it was snowing. I don't think anyone could have seen every rut. Anyway, they never actually made attempts to examine the underbelly. They literally just looked under there and said, oh, it looked fine. He must be a really good driver.
I see this being a common theme, especially in our regular episode, where police just kind of brush off certain things, and that becomes key parts of evidence that they just kind of we screwed up,
Yeah.
Laziness, I hate it.
I agree.
All right, so this next strange fact and finding is a little more about Ted's body and what they found near him. So the police stated that the way Ted's body was wrapped around with those thin sheets, that he couldn't have done it himself. That someone else had, no disrespect.
I know, that's how he was wrapped up.
Yep. Also, it was stated that, Ted's body was on the floor, and next to Ted's body was a nightstand. And on top of that nightstand, they found Ted's nickel ring, which had his name engraved on it, Ted's gold necklace, and his wallet, which had cash inside of it. Now, something else that the police found on that nightstand was a gold watch, which had a crystal missing from it. And the weird thing about this watch is that it didn't belong to any of the 5 men. So either somebody had previously been there and kind of left their watch at the station on accident, or someone else was there and forgot their watch behind.
Ooh.
Yeah. All right, Dan, tell us about this last strange fact I'm finding.
All right, so this last strange fact and finding that we have is about a couple items that were actually found outside of the station just northwest of it. So during the search for the 5 men, individuals had found 3 wool Forest Service blankets, and a rusted flashlight about a quarter of a mile northwest of the station, which no one knew how those items had gotten there.
I mean, they could have been placed there by other people, or animals have gotten hold of them and drug them out there.
I mean, could have.
Yeah.
But how would they have gotten inside the station other than through the window?
The animals? They crawled through the damn hole in the window. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how high the window was, so it's possible.
Yeah. All right, so let's go to theories, which is the fun part.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so the first theory that we're going to talk about may explain why the 5 men left Jack's vehicle and why they might have been in kind of like an altered state. So where they found the men's remains and everything around it, it didn't really make sense, Why would they abandon the car? Why would they go in different directions? Why would Ted starve to death when he had shelves of food? It didn't make sense. However, there is a theory that the men all had carbon monoxide poisoning. And this can happen if the exhaust of a car becomes obstructed. So the 5 men could have gotten the car stuck in the snow in such a way that the tailpipe was partially blocked, or some unknown fault could have occurred in the exhaust system. This would have caused carbon monoxide to build up in the cab of the vehicle as they ran the engine to stay warm. Now, carbon monoxide poisoning can cause dizziness and confusion, along with a number of other issues. Now, if the men did have this, they would have been disoriented in such a state that they could have made the fatal choice to leave their vehicle to sort of seek help. Now, some of you may be like, well, how, it's not that common, carbon monoxide poisoning. Carbon monoxide poisoning from running a car in the cold is shockingly more common than you might think. I mean, even today, it leads to several unfortunate deaths.
Damn.
So that could have played a role, could have been that. They could have got poisoning from the carbon monoxide, went on crazy, disoriented, But it still doesn't explain why Ted had a long ass beard and died, 8 to 12 weeks later and starved to death.
Right.
And what happened to Gary? He's still walking.
Nobody knows. He's still hiking.
He's still hiking through those mountains. Damn.
This next theory we have is based on the account of Joe, the heart attack guy. So this theory is that since the 5 men were out of town, that after the game, they may have ran into some, angered fans of the opposing team, considering the UC Davis won that game. These angry fans might have followed them up in a pickup truck into the mountains. Which, remember, Joe said that he saw a pickup truck. And then, of course, that Brownsville lady said, she saw them in a red pickup truck. Now, it could have been angry fans or whatever. Or perhaps the guys came across a woman with a baby at the gas station when, after they left the game. They went and picked up snacks, might have picked up a woman and a baby. She needed help getting away from her abusive husband or boyfriend or something. So the 5 men gave her a ride up the mountain, in which her husband came back with a vengeance. They put themselves in the crosshairs of her pursuers.
Damn. And I could see them doing that, being like, damn, this girl does need some help. She's got a baby. It's cold outside.
Right.
But then again, could they really fit 6 people inside that 1969 Mercury Monte whatever?
Here, let's look at
Mercury
19
Monte.
I don't know.
Back seat's pretty damn big. Yeah, they could have.
Yeah.
3 up front, 3 in the back. They could have. It's big enough.
Oh yeah, it's a bench seat, ain't it? In the front.
Yeah. Bench seat in the front and in the back. It's fucking huge in the back. Damn.
Dang. So yeah, they could have had 6 people in there and a baby.
Yeah, easily. All right, so that's possible. So let's go on to the next theory, which is about Gary. So this theory is that Gary had actually planned out this incident. That Gary had a schizophrenic episode that made him do all of this. Now, it is said that before they left to the UC basketball game that night, that Gary had not taken his medicine for his schizophrenia. Now, the reason he didn't take his medicine is because, Gary thought, hey, I would be back home in time to take it before I went to bed. Now, some believe that Gary had one of his schizophrenic episodes that caused this incident, And then, he stole Ted's shoes and took off somewhere. I mean, he was good at walking long distances already. Plus, they never found him. And to top it all off, his family, Gary's family, never really talked to anyone. They didn't release any statements, interviews, or any comments about his disappearance. So this leads a lot of people to believe that, hey, the family really knows where he's at, or maybe they actually kind of like hid him somewhere safe. That they found out Gary had like an episode, he maybe caused the deaths of his friends, he went and starved Ted in that station for 8 to 12 weeks, and then took Ted's shoes, or wrapped him in a blanket, took Ted's shoes, walked to his family, told his family what happened. They're like, shit, here for the rest of your life, Mr. Potter.
You're a wizard. Not really. You think you are, but you're not.
Yeah. So, I think that's kind of believable, man,
Now, I did read somewhere, I don't know how factual it is, but supposedly the families of the other 4, when they found out that Gary was going on the trip with them, they weren't too happy about it because they didn't really like Gary too much. But the 4 guys, Bill, Ted, Jack, and Jackie, they were friends with him, so they didn't mind. But the families didn't really like Gary.
I mean, I can see why. He tried, he sexually assaulted a woman in her sleep.
Yeah.
So I really wouldn't want him hanging out with if I was an older gentleman and I had a kid that was hanging out with him, I would say, hey, you might want to recheck your priorities and who you're hanging out with.
Right.
Anyways. All right, so tell us about this last theory, Dan.
All right, so this last theory is about, Gary trying to visit some friends. So after some digging, it turns out that Gary may have had some friends in the nearby town of Forbestown. So the police speculated that the boys were actually on their way to visit Gary's friends, and that they may have taken a wrong turn at Oroville. Now, Oroville, there's a fork in the road there that one way will take you to Forbestown, and the other would actually take you to where they found their car. So it's possible that they had gotten lost, and when the car got stuck, and instead of trying to get it out, they figured they were close enough to town to walk and try to make it there. None of them were prepared for the cold weather, as they were dressed in light coats, thin pants, and all that. And since they didn't expect to spend so much time in the cold, some of them suffered, from hypothermia and died. And then, Gary we can only assume Gary and Ted made it to the station.
Yeah, we know for a fact that Ted made it to the station.
Yeah.
It is assumed that Gary made it there, and I can say that yes, he probably did, because his shoes were found there. His tennis shoes were found.
Now, here's a knowledge nugget right here that will help verify that Gary was there. I almost forgot about this. So, in the Forest Ranger station, they had all those canned foods. But the only can opener was actually like an old style military one.
Yep, that the Army had previously used.
Exactly. So those 12 cans that were opened had to use that type of can opener. And we all knew that Gary was in the Army. Ted, I don't think Ted was.
No, he wasn't, which that would explain why some of those 12 cans had been opened, right? Gary got there, started opening them up, feeding his friend. His friend ends up dying, or his friend Ted ends up like saying, hey, go get help. Gary's like, okay, after he eats the 12 cans. Ted realizes, oh shit, Gary's gone. He went to go get help. Can't open up these cans. Can't figure out how this freaking Army tool works. This can opener. Starves to death. Damn. Thanks a lot, Army. And Gary's either, out there living his life, as like how old would he be? Let's see, he was 30-something? That was in the 70s. I'm not good at math. What is it, Dan?
30, so 60, so you'd be about 80-something, almost 90, maybe?
So if you're out there, Gary, send us an email. We'd love to hear from you.
Don't show up.
Yeah, you can just send us an email. I don't want you showing up. But I think that's what happened. I mean, that's my own personal belief. I believe that, they were going to go visit Gary's friend. They took the wrong turn. I think Joe's story just kind of throws the whole thing off. He really didn't see what the hell happened. He was delusional because he had a heart attack, and his kind of statement kind of fucked everything up.
Yeah, especially having two different versions of it.
Yeah, I think the 5 men made the wrong turn to visit Gary's friend. They ran out of gas, and they end up seeing the snow tracks. Gary and Ted are like, hey, we're going to follow these tracks. You guys stay inside here. We're going to see if we can go get help. Gary